that warning, what did we do? I will jump stages, I will jump incidents. One that stands out in my mind is the first, in world history, the first fully televised destruction of the cultural and economic capital of a region, the Arab world. Lebanon was invaded in 1982, and for more than a week we saw is systematic destruction of Lebanon and Beirut on television. And the soldier of Islam in Pakistan watched quietly, preparing his moustaches. Jalib, Jalib, Jalib sang and went to jail for singing. Hamari jaan ke dar pe ho, kyun Lebanon mein jao? Why are you after our bodies and our necks? You Muhammad Ziaul, go to Lebanon. Fight if you are men. Fight if you are soldiers of Islam. But none was moving. Nobody was moving. We all watched it. 30,000 people were murdered. 1.5 million people were rendered homeless. 20,000 homes were burned down. And the whole world watched, including the Muslim countries. And the Arab sheikhs continued their good business with Washington, whose arms were doing the trick. We've seen that. And now we have seen Bosnia, which is a shame on the Western world, without doubt. A very big shame. For 50 years, these people, their newspapers, their radios and television, their authors and poets, their novelists and storytellers have been telling us that after the Holocaust there will be no other. Never again, those two words. And after the Cold War is over, in peacetime, in normal peacetime, we have had a televised Holocaust. And the Serbs gave it a name. They were hiding nothing. They called it ethnic cleansing. Yes, sir, ethnic cleansing. And for the first 6 months of ethnic cleansing, the Western world looked paralyzed psychologically between guilt and opportunism. I kept going from one capital to another, God be my witness, seeing these leaders and saying, this is your moment, go in, do something, go in, violate this damned criminal arms embargo, and you will be changing international relations. I'm a student of it, damn it. None of them had the guts to make one move. None, not one of them. They made noises, these scoundrels. And Islamic parties, certainly in the Gulf and where I live in Pakistan, put up kiosks and collected money, and people poured and poured what little they had of money, and the Bosnians never saw that money. That also is the truth. So everybody is a thief. And I'm being very frank and blunt with you. Yes, there were some people who went tried to fight. Help. They did help. It happened in our time. And what kind of time is it? Think of that. It's an extraordinary time. 1975. I am in Kuwait. One of their ministers is a former student of mine. So I call on him, I just walk in. And as I am coming out, 3 white men are sitting there in the waiting room. One is the president of IBM, the other is the vice president of Xerox Corporation, and for reasons I couldn't understand, the third one was the president, the chief executive officer of Bethlehem Steel, of all things, waiting in our Sheikh, Minister of Commerce office. Big corporation heads wait in their offices, seek their interviews. Big bankers lend their money and make the whole third world indebted. You're referring to the debt crisis. Big presidents call on them and they call on those. The American Treasury bill can go up or down depending on the sheikh's wills and whims and preferences. They have a lot of money, but no capital. They have influence, but no power. Our countries are littered from Pakistan to Morocco to Senegal with machines, and we have no technology. We are suffering from total disorganic growth. And disorganic growth is not conducive to any kind of sane, safe development. Secondly, currently, not one country that I can recall, and I thought a lot about it on my way here, is there one Muslim country which has gotten out of the trap of dependency, and underdevelopment. Perhaps Malaysia comes close. But if Malaysia comes close to having escaped finally the trap of dependency, hasn't quite escaped it but comes close, dependency and underdevelopment, then Malaysia's Chinese population must take a large part of credit for it. Only a few Muslim countries, therefore, among them Turkey, Pakistan, Malaysia, Lebanon, and possibly Jordan, meet some of the formal legal requirements of democratic governance. I say some of the formal legal requirements of democratic governments. These countries I have just named to you have some degree of freedom of press and association. I am able to write very freely in Pakistan and speak freely in Pakistan for the last 5 years. My writings and those of friends like Edward Said's writings are beginning now to appear in Jordan and even in Egypt to a certain extent. You realize that the question of Palestine was not published in Arabic until last year. Jesus Christ. Said's question of Palestine could not be published and distributed in the Arab world because it has 6 or 7 critical sentences about Arab governments. I have been banned for the last 25 years from, my writings have been banned from every Arab country, and some, including the government of Iran under the Shah and Saddam Hussein, Iraq under Saddam Hussein, wouldn't let me go in and out for no crime except possessing an allegedly critical mind. Just think of that. So you have in Pakistan, in Malaysia, to a small extent Egypt, in Turkey, some degree of freedom of press, open oppositional movements. Opposition parties are able to exist and function openly. Free, pluralistic, periodic elections, more or less free, sometimes a little bit of dandli ho jati, but generally free elections, and a modicum of independent judiciary. Not everywhere, it's kind of messed up. Right now is my moment of great joy and glory. You know why that I see Pakistani faces around here, or Indian faces. You know why? Benazir Bhutto has been packing the judiciary of Pakistan with gialas. Ignorant, third-rate, fifth-rate people who have never even practiced law properly have been packed. 27 new appointments, all of basically unqualified, idiotic people. And then, you know, good thing happened. That's democratic. One divana, eccentric, Urdu speaking, by that I mean non-English speaking, lawyer in Rawalpindi named Wahabul Khairi went and filed a case against Benazir Bhutto and the President of Pakistan for appointing bad judge. Well, the Lahore High Court threw his petition out as not having any standing. Well, the fellow Wahabul Khairi was not about to give up, so he went to the Supreme Court. Lo and behold, Supreme Court admitted his application. The hearings have gone on from November 2nd until last week, and now the Supreme Court of Pakistan has ruled that all these appointments are null and void because they were fraudulent and unconstitutional. Now that's, I call, signs of great hope and joy. But what am I trying to say is that in 3 of the 6 or 4 of the 6 countries I have just cited to you as having some forms of democracy visible in practice today, 4 of the 6 are very shaky places. Malaysia alone looks stable, followed by Pakistan, which looks stable to me. It will be ups and downs, but I think we have dug in. I don't think any soldier in the near future is likely to have the ambition to actually take over. 1 or 2 have tried, but didn't quite make it. The rest is gone. So what we are talking about, 50 countries, 1 democracy, 5 possibilities, and the rest darkness. That's the empirical situation. What then, my next question, what are the impediments and what's the prospect? That's the subject that Imran Qureshi had given me, and I'm now going to speak to the subject. So let me first mention the impediments. I will tick them out, hopefully not take much time. First, in most, or in many, not all, in many Muslim countries, the warrior class remains untamed, including Turkey, including Pakistan, including Egypt, including Lebanon. The warrior class remains untamed. We cannot yet completely predict that the military will not move. Give them a temptation, create a certain kind of crisis, the man on the horseback may start trotting again. I am trying to suggest to you that no democracy is ever safe until the warrior class has been tamed by the political class. Until civil society, in other words, has come to control the institutions of state. That has not happened yet. That's one impediment. The second impediment is that most Muslim countries are still in the grip of feudal elites, landed elites. Landed elites are by nature undemocratic, by economic interest undemocratic, and by culture undemocratic. You can't be a landlord and be democratic. I mean, it's an oxymoron. Now you're beginning to understand what my problem is with Benazir Bhutto. Most of these are still in that place. Pakistan is a very good example of that. Many are freed from feudal control. They have other problems, but many are still under feudal controls, and that's bad news. Thirdly, most of these countries are developing a middle class. They are developing a working class. Urbanization is proceeding at a fast rate, but has not quite reached the point of maturation. Places where they have reached a point of maturation are already showing signs of moving towards democratic governance. Pakistan is one example. However, hesitatingly, they are moving. Turkey is another example. I would stick my neck out and predict that Egypt is now going to move towards democratic forms, and again haltingly, because its warrior class might continue to interfere with the process. The same is true of Turkey. It will continue to interfere. It will come in and go. Fourthly, authoritarian regimes, which began originally as radical nationalist systems of power, continue to hold on to power in some very key countries. Egypt. It's no holdover from old Nasserist authoritarianism. It has all the defects of the old Nasserist authoritarianism and very few of its strengths. So they're still there. Saudis are still there. Authoritarian monarchy. The Indonesian proto-fascist regime of Suharto is still there. So their continued existence, and mind you, watch it, only the ones that I have cited to you, look at them. The rhetoric from Washington is, we are for democracy, we are for human rights, we are this. Their main allies at the moment in the Muslim world are Egypt, Saudi Arabia, Indonesia. So much for democracy. So these places are still controlled by undemocratic elements, and it will take us time to move in that direction. Finally, in the Middle East, the working class and the urban classes, which are large and significant today, are deprived by me and you. The intelligentsia of those countries and the region, the working class is deprived of progressive ideology, democratic ideologies, and leaders. With the result that you look at something like Karachi. It's a megalopolis, 11 million people, 79% literacy, hard-working people, forward-looking people. They have no ties left to very few of them have real ties left now to the old order. What do they come into the grip of? Mahajir Qawmi Mahaz. A damned seventh-rate, violent, terrorist organization that never understood the meaning of good politics. I am very lucky. I used to denounce them while they were in power. I got away with it. Sometimes, 2 or 3 times I did it openly. I'll give you examples why I did it openly. The MQM hoodlums actually, on the orders of Mr. Altaf Hussain, started looting the hospitals and the ambulances of Maulana Idi. What was Maulana Idi's fault? Competition for Qurbani ke khal. Can you imagine that? So you have a failure on the part of the intelligentsia to put up some form of alternative for the working class peoples of Cairo, of Karachi, of Lahore, of Istanbul, and they are not doing it. They sit in their homes and complain about the Islamic fundamentalists. The Islamic fundamentalists have the virtue of going out and working there, of positing an alternative, of saying this is an alternative to the current situation. The secular, liberal, democratic intelligentsia is not doing that. And that failure has remained to date a major impediment in our society. I will finally list on the impediments one last thing that is particularly striking in South Asia. We are developing into apartheid societies. I am not joking. We are developing apartheid. In most of these places, you have 2 groups of people living, not just rich and poor, the westernized and the native, the English speaking and the non-English speaking. Those who are connected to the global jet set, those who are not connected to the global jet, those who send their children to American and Canadian schools.